Okay. So last week, of course, we didn't have a shiur because Hillary was busy keeping our attention, unfortunately. But we'll dedicate the shiur to Hillary today. Itachaya bat Avraham.
Can you say one or two words about her before we
I just said a whole bunch of words over there.
You, so
Okay. All right. So I'll tell you what I said just now, in just very briefly. I'll tell you what I just said now at the Shiva. We spent all week speaking about what Hillary did and all the great things that she did. And I said it's time now that we speak about what Hillary would want us to do in the future. So I said that, first of all, the first thing she'd want us to do was to look after Jonathan, which we will. And she'd want her family to continue on the path that they are going on, because they're great kids. And I said, well, what can we as the community do? I only ever saw Hillary get wound up about one thing regularly, but only about one thing. And that was talking in davening. Really used to wind her up. I said that perhaps one of the things that we could try is to do less of it. In her memory, just listen, we're not going to be perfect because we can't be. It's just not, But we could say, okay, Chazarat Hashatz, let's say the repetition of the Amida, which you really should not speak in. Let's try, in Hillary's memory, not to speak during Chazarat Hashatz. It's doable. It's doable, and we could do it in her memory. The other thing I said that is she loved to learn, and we could all learn. And in her zechut, actually starting tonight, right at this very moment, there is a new ladies group, learning group started tonight. Sharon Steele is hosting it. If you want to know the details, speak to Sharon or speak to Elisheva. A ladies learning group. I don't know any more detail than that, except that it's starting. I don't know. I think it was just a sort of an ad hoc thing to start with and see how it goes, and rather than something sort of official and what have you. But we could all learn a little bit more in her memory. And the other thing I said was her big thing recent years was tying tzitzit. So I said, for the guys, the people that don't yet wear tzitzit, they should wear tzitzit. Those that do wear tzitzit should perhaps be more careful about when they say their brachot, when they put their tzitzit on, and think that they are doing the mitzvah. Maybe those that don't yet wear tchelet can wear tchelet.
Did she do them with tchelet?
She didn't do them with tchelet. No. Well, that was mainly because she wasn't given tchelet to do them with. Had she, one second, I just need to just.
This is what they own.
מה אתה עושה עם הספר הזה, שמעון? מה? אוקיי. חשבתי שאולי אתה רוצה להשתמש בזה, אבל זה מחלול. בסדר גמור, חשבתי שאולי אתה לוקח לזה להשתמש. בסדר גמור. Sorry about that. Just had to make sure that there was nobody taking a safer Torah as they shouldn't be. Right. So that's what I said, Goldie. I said those are the things that we could do. Right. Thank you. So we will dedicate the shiur to Hillary's memory. Itachaya bat Avraham. So we got as far as some of the Harachamons a couple of weeks ago. We were in the section which I called the special Harachamons, which recognized Shabbat and Yom Tov. And I think that we even spoke about Shabbat, the Shabbat one. Remind me, Barbara, if I'm wrong. We talked about the idea of what is Yom Shekulo Shabbat, what is a day which is all Shabbat.
Dedicated to all of the Shabbat, and we do only activities which are like learning, like praying, nothing else.
Why? I mean, you're right, but I mean, that's a bit of a strange thing to say. and we'll
Well,
say
you know, I'm a bit
Yom
strange.
Shekulo Shabbat, the day that's all Shabbat. Well, half a Shabbat, half a day of Shabbat.
No,
What does it refer to,
Kavana,
Barbara?
Kavana.
Afraid I don't remember, but our whole mind is concentrating on Shabbat.
I think we said the word Shabbat. It's rest. It's a day of rest.
Okay.
Kavana.
So what the expression Yom Shekulo Shabbat, it actually comes from the Gemara. I can't remember now without my notes exactly where it was, but there's a Gemara that tells us this expression Yom Shekulo Shabbat means it's an allusion to Olam Habah. Olam Habah is considered Shabbat the Gemara talks about various things that are 1/60th of something else.
Yeah.
So
But
fire is 1/60th of Gehinnom. Shabbat is 1/60th. Do you want to put that aircon on?
Yeah.
Right? Just behind you. The Shabbat is considered 1/60th of Olam Habah, and Yom Shekulo Shabbat is an allusion, not illusion, an allusion to Olam Habah. So Harachaman, the merciful one, who yanchilenu. What does that mean? Yanchilenu. What's the root of that word?
Nachala, inheritance. Yeah, Nachala.
Nachala, very
yeah.
good, Johnny. Nachala. Nachala is an inheritance.
Yeah.
This is the causative form of the verb. Hu yanchilenu. May he cause us to inherit. Right? May he cause us to inherit what? Liyom Shekulo Shabbat. Inherit that which is all day Shabbat. In other words, may he cause us to inherit Olam Habah. In other words, may he cause us to have a positive life here in this world in order that we inherit the world to come. And how do we do that? By honoring the Shabbat. That's this particular Harachamons we say on Shabbat. Menucha, and what's Menucha? Rest.
Yeah.
L'chayei ha'olamim, for the world of olamim, of worlds. L'chayei, for the life of worlds. Well, what's that referring to? Olam Habah. Okay. So okay, so now we've got two different ideas here in the same Harachaman, which are pointing towards some kind of future existence. So what might those two concepts, if you like, of it's too cold for you, Jeff. What are those two different concepts of Olam Habah? Okay, no, that's not right. That's not the right question. What are the two concepts of this future existence? I'm not asking the question very well here, so I'll tell you the answer, because once I tell you the answer, you'll understand the question I'm trying to formulate.
One must be Moshiach, no?
One is, okay, very good. Johnny's read my mind. One is what we would call Olam Habah, the next world, which occurs after you're dead, right? So, and then there's Limot HaMashiach.
The days of the Messiah.
The days of Moshiach, which is still in this world, right?
Yeah.
We're still in this world. So that's really what this is. This is L'chayei ha'olamim, the everlasting life. That's probably the right translation. What have you got in your Sachs Siddur there, Barbara?
Eternal life in the Art Scroll. Eternal life.
Eternal life in Art Scroll. What have you got, Barbara?
Life everlasting.
Life everlasting. Okay. And what have you got for Yom Shekulo Shabbat?
Time that would be entirely Shabbat.
The time that will be entirely Shabbat. Okay. So that's two different things now, haven't we? And you can understand
Like
now.
utopia. It's like utopia.
Okay. Right. So hang on, I'll hold that thought.
Yeah.
Yom Shekulo Shabbat, the day that is all Shabbat, which is a reference to Yemot HaMashiach, and L'chayei ha'olamim, which is a reference to Olam Habah. You can see the two different concepts here. At first glance, They
So wait a
still-
minute, there's Mashiach, the times of Mashiach and Olam Habah
Two
are
different
two
things.
different concepts.
Yes, Olam Habah is after you're dead.
And Mashiach.
Well, I hope we'll still be alive. I hope we'll still be alive.
All right, okay. If you go on living in hope.
Now, there
But then
are,
you will die when Moshiach comes, we die and then go to Olam Habah. Or.
no, when Moshiach, well,
Who knows?
there are those who consider that Mashiach coming is not, we're waiting for a person to arrive on a white donkey. There are those that believe, Rambam included, that Yimot HaMashiach, the days of Mashiach, are a time period when various criteria have been fulfilled. Now, if we look at the Rambam's criteria for Yimot HaMashiach, you can understand why Rav Kook, he wasn't the first to use this expression, but he applied the expression Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu to our current time. The Rambam says these are the following criteria for Yimot HaMashiach, for the days of Mashiach. See if I can remember them. One is that there will be a return of the Jewish people to Eretz Israel, Kibbutz Galuyot, okay, the ingathering of the exiles. On a statistical basis, that means at least 51% of the world's Jews live in Eretz Israel. We're not very far away from that.
51.
Yeah, I think there were, I think the last thing I saw was about 48%. So given that the number of Jews in America is dwindling generationally,
Rapidly.
and given that there is a net increase of Jews coming to Israel despite the Yerida, we're probably not far off 51%. That's criteria number one. Criteria number two is that the world will recognize the sovereignty of Israel over the land. We're a bit far away from,
The Abraham Accord.
we're a bit further away from that than we were a little while ago. Perhaps it's, a bit up and down. But as Philip says, if the Abraham Accords are extended, who knows? We don't want to be get into a political discussion here. But the BBC will have something to say for sure. They can go and get stuff together with
PPC, not BBC.
And the third thing is the building of the third Beit Mikdash. So you can understand if you put your mind, if you can try and put your mind into the mindset of Rav Kook. Rav Kook was the first Ashkenaz chief rabbi of the Yishuv, what was at that time erroneously called Palestine in the British Mandate. And if you think about his life and what had occurred in his lifetime, the return of Jews to the land of Israel in his lifetime, even though the state had not been declared a state of Israel, the number of Jews who were coming back to the land and working the land, you can understand why he called the time period that he was living in Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu, which means Reshit,
The beginning.
the beginning of, Tzmichat,
The growing of.
the flourishing or
Yeah.
the sprouting,
The sprouting of,
Geulatenu, of our redemption.
deliverance.
So the beginning of the sprouting, in other words, the very beginning of this time period. And so if you consider that Yimot HaMashiach is a time period as opposed to the idea of the individual person coming to bring everybody together on his white donkey, etc., you can understand that Yimot HaMashiach may be round the corner for many people. And that's something which I think that as an idea which has been felt very much in this country over the last 75 years. Yes, Frank.
So if you're saying that Moshiach is a time period, and then there were three criteria, the last one being the third temple. But did we not also say that the third temple will only come around in the time of Moshiach? So how do you equate the two? There's
Yeah,
something in
so
it.
I think that's what I'm saying. So the Moshiach, if we take Rav Kook's view, right, it's a beginning. It's a process, right? The other end of the spectrum is one day Moshiach's not here, and the next day he's there, right? He's a person, whatever it is. Monday he's not here. Tuesday morning he arrives. Okay, Rav Kook is saying no, that's not how it works. There's a gradual elevation of the world until such time that we are ready and prepared and at a level to warrant the building of the third Beit Mikdash. And that, if you like, is the sort of the culmination of that period of time. Yeah, that's how Rav Kook sees it, and that's how many of the more modern thinkers post-modern Zionism, really. So, late 19th century onwards, many people understand that we are in. Now, how long this period goes on for, who knows? Many people thought 1967 was it, and that a few sticks of dynamite over in a couple of mosques and what have you, and we could start building. There were many people, though. Rav Goren was in favor of that action, apparently, allegedly. Yes, Jeff.
From the short bet share that you've given, there were 3 criteria for the Bet Mikdash complete rest for that 40 years or something. Or was it?
Okay, so for David building the Bet Mikdash, which he wasn't allowed to do, Shlomo did it. The criteria that we learned, you're quite right, Shmuel Bet chapter 7. What we learned was that Natan told David via Hashem's message, this is not the time. And what we worked out was that we were lacking Vishavtem Betach, to dwell in security. David had conquered the land, but hadn't yet fully taken grasp of it. And that Vishavtem Betach, they will dwell securely. That security didn't.
Betach can also mean definitely, though.
Yeah, but it only means definitely because of security. Vishavtem Betach in the Torah means you shall dwell in security. Yeah. So that didn't come about until the reign of Shlomo.
Security, presumably, in the same situation.
Presumably, the same thing would. Yeah, I mean, that was talking about the Beit Mikdash. But yeah, I agree. I think you could certainly apply that. We would say that the criteria that, according to the Rambam, is we need to have world peace, and we need to have world peace and recognition that we have sovereignty over the land. Now, those two things often will go in hand, won't they?
Say that to the UN, I think.
Yeah, well, the UN needs to be disbanded. But anyway, there you go. Right. So this idea of Yom Shakul Shabbat Umrucha L'Chayei Olamim is an interesting idea that this Yemot HaMashiach and Olam Habah are two different things. Yes, Johnny.
I think I once heard or I learned when I was a kid that Yom Shakul, I'm not saying Yom Shakul Shabbat, but it just came to me now that the day when everyone keeps Shabbat on that day, then Moshiach will come.
Okay, so there's a famous song, isn't there, by Mordechai ben David.
Which one?
Just one Shabbos and we'll be free. Yeah, you all know that, right? Even me singing it.
Pretty old.
Like that, right? So what's he talking about there? It's exactly what Johnny's saying. There is I don't know where it comes from, but there's an idea. Shame Hannah's not here. She probably knows where it is coming from. I know, some kind of.
Rabbi Balkin might have taught it me.
That if everybody was to keep Shabbos, all the Jews were to keep Shabbos one time, then Moshiach would come.
Setting impossible criteria, really, to say you like.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the origin of that, Johnny, and of course that's the origin of the Mordechai ben David song that we know and love so much. Just one Shabbos. It's actually a lovely song. Okay, so that's Harachamons Yom Shakul Shabbos Menucha L'Olamim. Now, next one in the list is much easier to understand. Harachaman hu yechadesh aleinu et hachodesh hazeh l'tova v'livracha, which is to be said on Rosh Chodesh. Quite straightforward. The merciful one, may he yiskadesh aleinu, may he renew for us et hachodesh hazeh, this month, the coming month, l'tova, for good, v'livracha, and for a bracha. What's interesting about this is the root of the word chodesh.
Hadash, new.
If I was
It's
to
a
say
renewal,
chodesh,
it's a renewal.
what does chodesh mean?
Month.
You'd say a month, right? What's the root of it? Comes
Hadash.
from kadash. Why? Because the moon renews itself each month. And yichadesh aleinu. What do we say when you buy something new?
Titchadesh.
Titchadesh, which
Titchadesh.
means
renewal. Titchadesh, that you should be renewed.
no, it doesn't mean that.
Titchadesh.
What does
It
it?
should be renewed.
It should be renewed. Yes. In what way, Johnny?
It should be good for you. It should be a blessing for you.
Sorry,
You should
Johnny.
be well to wear it. You should be well to wear it.
I beg to disagree here. In I know grammatical Hebrew, and Titchadesh is second person singular. Yitchadesh is third person singular.
Titchadesh, you should renew it.
Okay, now you've changed it.
No, that's what it means. You should renew.
All
But
right.
that's why I've just told you the answer to the question. You should renew it. What does that
Okay.
mean? You should renew it. Why will you, if you buy something and you get a new car or a new garment or something, why would you say to somebody, you should renew it?
Because once it's second hand, it's already worth 10% less in value.
Because it's a bracha that you should live so long that you should wear it out and need to renew it.
Never thought of
That's
that.
why you say Titchadesh.
No.
Yeah, you think I'm making it up? I'm not making it up. That's why you say Titchadesh. What do we say? What do we say? What did we say in England? We wish you well to wear it. Now, my aunt used to say, we wish you well to wear it out. Okay, which is the same idea as Titchadesh,
Yeah,
is it not?
Yeah.
Right? She used to say, I wish you well to wear it out. You should be so well that you
And
should
you
wear
could
it
all
out.
go to Lieberman's to buy a new one.
Correct, absolutely.
Why, she had a shop, she had a.
You want to make a living? So Titchadesh means you should renew it. In other words, you should be well to wear it out. We wish you well to wear it out. Okay, so just an interesting verb, yichadesh aleinu. He should renew upon us or for us this month for good and for bracha. Next one, Harachamon hu yanchilenu liyom shekulo tov.
Yeah,
Okay, when do we say that?
on Yom Tov, yeah.
Now, why do we say that? We know why we say Yom Shekulo Shabbat, because there's a Gemara that tells us that the day that is all Shabbat means L'chayei Olam Habah or Yemot HaMashiach. What about Yom Tov? The day that's all Yom Tov. Yanchilenu, same word, he should cause us to inherit a day that is all good. What's that referring to? What's that referring to? I don't think it's referring to anything. I think it's just a stylistic thing, copying the Yom Shekulo Shabbat. And I think it means Yanchileni LeYom Shekulo Tov. In other words, our Yom Tov should be all good. There is no corresponding Gemara that speaks about Yom Shekulo Tov being anything specific as there is the Gemara of Yom Shekulo Shabbat. Okay, for Sukkot, there's a different Harachamon.
I'll think about when we all. That's when the no, but that's also at the time, isn't it?
When everybody's sitting in the Sukkah of Livyatan.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the Livyatan?
A whale,
The
The
Leviathan, right? The big
a big fish.
big fish.
It's not a fish, it's a mammal.
The whale is a mammal.
I know.
Well, it doesn't mean that Leviathan is a whale.
Leviathan is a whale.
How do you know?
It's
You've been to Wales.
common common knowledge that Leviathan in
Maybe
Hebrew means
translate-
whale.
It may be maybe translated as a whale in
Yeah.
modern Hebrew, but in biblical Hebrew, we're not told at all. And I very, very much doubt that Leviathan is a whale
Why?
in biblical Hebrew because the whale is a mammal and Leviathan is a fish. In rabbinic
Yonah,
literature,
in Megillat
first of all,
Yonah,
Yonah doesn't mention Leviathan at all. It's not called a Leviathan. What's it called?
a big fish.
It's called Dagah.
Oh, I don't- I can't remember. Yeah,
I was just saying, is that symbolic of that?
the day which is all good.
Maybe. I mean, if you
I
think
think-
about the days and the things.
I think perhaps later on, the next one, we might look at it when we come to the Sukkah one in a second. So Rosh Hashanah, easy. Harachamon yichadesh aleinu et hashana hazot l'tova v'livracha. Same as the Chodesh, except in the feminine. Shana is a feminine word. And then the Sukkot one. Now there is a difference in minhag here. Some people only say this Sukkot one on Chol HaMoed, which doesn't make any sense at all. And I guess, I don't know why that is the case, actually. I was going to say, I guess, because they're saying the other one, but there's no reason why they can't say both of them.
Rubric here is. That's the rubric in the singers.
To say it on Chol HaMoed.
Yeah.
Does it say why?
No.
It doesn't really make sense because let's do the Harachamon. Let's see what it says. Harachamon, the merciful one, who yakim lanu, may
he will erect
establish for us.
Yeah, erect is to build.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean to live, not is to build. Yakim means to.
He translates to restore.
Well, that's not a good well, it's a good translation because that's what it means, but it's not an accurate translation. Yakim, lahakim. What do we talk about?
To establish.
To establish,
Yeah.
or to
Huh?
Hakamat Medina Israel, the establishment
Yeah.
of the state of Israel. So who Yakim Lanu, he should erect for us because we're talking about a building.
A building,
description.
yeah.
But you wouldn't say erect the erection of the state of Israel, right? Hakamat Medina. No. So it depends on what
The
you think about.
establishment. Yeah.
May he establish for us et Sukkot David Hanofelet. The Sukkah of David Hanofelet,
Which is fallen.
which has fallen. May he establish for us, and that's
Re-establish.
why it says restore,
Yeah.
because he's referring to something
Yeah.
that's already fallen down.
Yeah.
So may he restore for us the Sukkah of David, which has fallen down. What's he talking about?
The temples. The temples, but they are Migdash, not the Batei Hamikdash.
Okay.
The country.
Okay, right. So we've got a machlokas adeus here. Harav
Chaim Shraga.
Harav Chaim Shraga says he's talking about the Bet Mikdash. Harav Peretz, Harav Peretz,
Yeah.
Nachum Peretz says that it means the country. We've got another Peretz over here. Ben Peretz, yeah.
How could it be the Beit Mikdash? He hadn't built it.
Okay, so that's a fair question. Jeff says, how can it refer to the Beit Mikdash when he didn't build it? Because we know he didn't build it. Shlomo built it. And
Yeah, but he HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised David that his progeniture would build the temple.
His what?
Progeniture.
I think you made that word up. I think you made that up.
I did it. Look it up.
You think it's a word?
It's a word,
Okay.
progeniture. Look for it.
Somebody look it up. Somebody look it up. Anyway, so I think it does refer to the Bet Mikdash, and I think it does. And I think Philip is right. I don't know if he's right about progenitor, but he's right. He's right about the fact that because David was the one who raised the request, as it were, or they had the idea and went to Natan and said, I want to build a Bet Mikdash. I want to build a house for Hashem. I think that it's considered to be Sukkot David. Shlomo himself, when he builds the Bet Mikdash, he says, this is the house of my father that my father wanted to build. So I think there are, I think the question remains, as to why it's called Sukkah David, but I think it is referring to the Beit Mikdash. Go on, Barbara. Is that a word?
It is a word.
And what does it mean?
The opposite.
Exactly the opposite.
Yes.
A personal thing from which a person, animal, or plant is descended.
Right, so it means an ancestor. Right, there you
Oh, I
go.
didn't know that. You see, I thought it meant.
So therefore, as usual, Reb Chaim Schrager has got not only the wrong end of the stick, he's got it completely upside down.
No, sorry. There's a mistake. Progenitor
Yes.
is where somebody comes from,
Yeah.
but progeniture.
Ah,
Wait a minute. Look for
It's-
progeniture.
no, that does exist as well. I saw it.
URE.
You are.
That's what I.
Go on then.
Wait a minute. At this telephone.
Offspring. Progeniture, URE, refers to offspring, progeny, or descendants.
Oh, stand corrected.
There you go.
Stand corrected.
So I'm right or not?
You're right.
Yes, there you are.
Like a clock that has stopped twice a day, it's correct. I rest my case. Right.
There you
So, Harachamon hu yakim lanu et Sukkat David hanofelet. So, the fallen down Sukkah of David is the Beit Mikdash, and we're asking it to be re-established, to be restored in the translation. Yes, Barbara.
Question.
Yes.
Why is there one for Sukkot, not for Pesach?
Okay.
Shavuot?
Okay, let's answer a different question first, and then we'll ask that question. And maybe we'll have the same answer, actually. What's a fallen Beit HaMikdash got to do with Sukkot? Why are we praying on Sukkot specifically for the fallen Beit HaMikdash? Well, Frank, what do you say?
No, I had a problem with the idea of the Beit Mikdash because I thought the whole concept of Sukkah and the reason that was to do with the fragility of the whole thing and the temporary nature of being in the Sukkah and how fragile life is.
Okay, let me just say that for the recording. Frank says that he always considered, and of course he's
Offspring
right.
descendants. Yeah, I found it.
We've already acknowledged your words.
Frank,
I was right.
Frank says that, and of course he's right, that the Sukkah represents fragility and falling down. So why? So that makes the question even greater. Why?
Well, the temple didn't fall down. The Sukkah will fall down of its own accord.
Right. So what do you understand Sukkat David Hanofelet to mean?
Try to think.
Okay, so you don't know what it means, but it don't mean that.
No, but I'm not
Okay.
sure that it goes with the thing.
Okay.
Maybe his succession.
ChatGPT.
Maybe his succession.
All right.
Maybe his succession.
I think it means Beit Mikdash. That's what I always understood and was learned. Okay, we'll ask ChatGPT. Here we go. What does Sukkat David? Oh, need to look on. 1 minute. Need to log in. Do I need to log in? There we go.
Art school says it's from Sukkah, which means protection.
Okay, we'll come to that.
Gives you- Huh?
We'll come to that in a sec.
Ah, okay.
As to what the Sukkah is all about. Let's just see if we can get any other answers as to what this might mean.
King's protection, it says. That's what.
Hang on. Got to get
You don't even realize how good I am to you.
116,239. 116,239. 116,239. Continue. Right, here we go. What does Sukkat David Hanofelet refer to? Right, what does he tell us? The phrase Sukkah David Hanofelet, the fallen booth of David, comes from a pasuk.
Harachamons yakim lanu es David es Sukkot David.
Give me strength. Amos comes from the prophet Amos, which says, Bayom Hahu, on that day, Akim et Sukkah David hanofelet, I will raise up the fallen booth of David. V'gadarti et pirtsehen, I will repair its breaches, from the word geder, a fence. I will refence its breaches. V'harisotav akim, and I will raise up its ruins. Uvenitiha kimei olam, and I will rebuild it
as in the old
days of old. So that is clearly a reference.
Well, it doesn't say that, does it?
It's clearly a reference. Now, okay, let's see what ChatGPT. By the way, if I'd had my notes, I remembered when I saw Amos, I remembered it. What that was in my notes. I must have got it off ChatGPT. No, I didn't. I looked it up somewhere else. Anyway, let's see what he says. He says Sukkah as a metaphor for the kingdom of David.
That's what I said.
Which is
Yeah,
what
that's
Paul
what I
said.
said.
Okay, the word sukkah literally means booth or hut, evoking fragility and impermanence.
Yes.
Here, it metaphorically represents the Davidic monarchy, once glorious and now fallen. And that explains your difficulty why it's called Sukkot David. The image emphasizes humble beginnings and a promise of restoration rather than might and grandeur. The participle hanofelet implies something that is in the process of falling or has already collapsed, suggesting a decline in Davidic rule or spiritual stature. This could refer to the destruction of the first or second temple, the exile and loss of Jewish sovereignty, or a moral or spiritual decay of leadership or society. The verse has been traditionally read as a prophecy of the Messianic era, when God will rebuild the Davidic dynasty, usher in justice, peace, and divine closeness. Rambam quotes this verse in his Laws of Kings, Malachim, to support the idea that the Moshiach will be from the house of David and will rebuild the temple. So all of the ideas around the table, which is great, isn't it? That we got everything that we've got. And what I think is great about this forum that we have here is that we don't just accept, the sort of standard fare.
And we also learn new words in English.
Okay.
Did you say that was ChatGPT?
Yeah. Not finished yet. Not finished. I've not finished. The phrase is also quoted in the Haftarah. When do you think it's a Haftarah? Go on, have a guess. You're very close. You're very close.
Shabbat.
If I'm not mistaken, Shabbat Cholamod, is Shabbat Cholamod Sukkot not Gog and Magog? I think. But you're very close.
Second day.
Very good. Second day in the diaspora. There is apparently is the Haftarah. It's quoted in there, and in some versions of the Tefilah Shalom HaMedina, expressing a longing for a new Jewish sovereignty, is this expression in the prayer for the state of Israel. I don't think it's in the one that we do. I don't remember seeing Sukkot David hanofelet. But again, Zionist and modern interpretations, religious Zionist thinkers, see the modern state of Israel as Achalta de Geula, which is the same thing as we've just said, Reshit Smichat Gulatenu. What's Achalta? That's Aramaic.
It's to wish.
No, Achalta. It's
With
Aramaic.
a chet. With a chet.
With a chet, yeah. What's it?
Yeah.
Hebrew
That
equivalent.
is it.
Yes, very good.
What?
Tefilah. It's the same word as Tefilah.
To start.
Achalta de Geula is Aramaic for the beginning of the redemption. And he says that this is perhaps the first stage in the rebuilding of the fallen Sukkah, either meaning the sovereignty, as Paul said, or meaning the Bet Mikdash. And still not finished with the ChatGPT. The final thing that he says is some interpret the fragility of the Sukkah as a symbol of Israel's vulnerability, yet also its divine protection and resilience. So that is ChatGPT done in about 1 second. And then he asks me, would you like this developed into a short Dvar Torah, Ed idea, or sermon? Unbelievable. Absolutely. I don't know why I waste my time writing articles for the Jerusalem Post. I just like, get ChatGPT to do it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
By the way, I saw your article. It was good.
The prayer for the states of Israel, Johnny.
Yeah.
And the prayer for the states of Israel says, Medina Yisrael, Reshit Semichak Galotenu, again, Alecha Be'evrak Asecha, Fros, Alecha Sukkah Shalomecha.
Sukkot yeah, not Sukkot David, but yes, Sukkot. We certainly say Reshit Tzmichat Gulatenu, don't we? Which, by the way, brings me.
Rob said it.
Huh?
He dropped that phrase.
Well, yeah, well. There you go.
Chabad.
And well, Chabad have got a real problem with Israel. Chabad have got a real problem with the state of Israel. You will not find any Chabad rabbi who will sing Hatikva. No, they have a real problem with it.
Really?
Yeah. It's a bit of a.
So how come that Rav Shneur goes to Miluim?
Doesn't mean he doesn't do his bit, Rav Shneur, but he has a problem with the concept of Reshit Tzmichat Gulatenu. Doesn't mean you don't go to the army. Kol hakavod to him for going to the army.
Absolutely.
But he won't sing Hatikva, I'll tell you that.
Well,
So, talking about Reshit Tzmichat Gulatenu, there is a Harachaman that some of you may say. I reckon you say it, Frank.
I was going to say there are two Harachamons in the Koran.
Harachaman hu yivarech et Medinat Yisrael Reshit Tzmichat Gulatenu. Did you say that? I thought you did. I remember you saying it when I was at your house once. Yeah.
It's in the Koran Siddhas, Johnny.
Sorry?
It's in the Koran Siddha, that one.
In the
We say
Koran
it every week.
I don't need to ask you whether it's in the art scroll, do I? Because it ain't. Is it in the Sacks? No.
It's the Koran one, yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is for the soldiers as well.
So we've got the various different Harachamons that you can add in, and of course you put whatever you like in here because we're in virgin territory, if you like. You can say whatever you want here, whatever Harachaman that you want to say, whatever comes into your heart, and you want to ask for. Like right now, we might add a new Harachaman. Harachaman hu yashiv lanu et hachatufim b'bria. Right? The merciful one, please return to us the chatufim, the hostages, in good health. That would be a perfectly good and positive and right thing to add into our prayers. The Harachaman section is after we've hit Al Yechasreinu and we're into the Harachamons, we're in complete voluntary territory here. You can add whatever you like. And I would go further and say that something that we add ourselves actually has got even more value because we have thought of it. It's come from us, and therefore it's got a great deal of meaning to us. I think. I mean, I've never said that. But maybe I will. Maybe I'll need to start to say that. I think it's a great thing to say.
My husband's family doesn't bench Harachamons on Shabbat.
At all. On Shabbat. Okay, so that's there is.
Exactly.
Yeah, there is an opinion that says that you don't. The Vilna Gaon, by the way,
That's the one.
the Vilna Gaon did not agree with saying the Harachamons on Shabbat. I think we might have mentioned that when we first started doing the Harachamons a few weeks ago. The Vilna Gaon does not agree with the Harachamons. And in fact, I think somebody around this table asked the question. I
think it was Frank. Frank asked it, I think. Frank? No.
I think Frank may have been. It was either Frank or Jeff who was on that side of the table who asked the question, how can we say these things on Shabbat? And in fact, the Vilna Gaon, amongst others, did not.
Because it's Memtes, what is it called? The 49 works. So they're active things. It's like working. It's like creating something.
First of all, it's 39.
39. I said. 49.
And second of all, what on earth are you talking about? We're talking about asking a Kodesh Baruch Hu.
No,
for
because
things. You don't ask for personal requests on Shabbat. That's it's nothing to do with working. You don't ask for. That's why we don't say it's why we do say when we make the Tefilah for the Refuah Shlema, we say Shabbat hi melizog. We're asking specifically
Is
for
there
Refuah
a
Shlema.
memtest something?
49 levels of Tuma.
That's it, yeah.
No, nothing to do with Shabbat. Okay, so these are all the extra things you can say. Harachamon hu yivarech et medinat Yisrael reshit tzmichat gulatenu. Good thing to say. Harachamon hu yivarech et chayalei tzva hagana Yisrael ha'omdim al mishmar artzenu. Be a very good thing to say. Harachamon for the chatufim. Whatever a thing comes into your desire, into your heart. And then we come to coming towards the end now of benching. Harachaman, who yizakenu, the Almighty, the merciful one, who yizakenu.
Will grant us, will
Makes us merit.
Yeah, I'm not sure to merit is a
Yeah,
verb,
no.
Lionel, but I know what you mean. To cause us to have merit is what you mean, yeah?
It's worthy.
Make us
Yeah, make us worthy. In other words, to have the zechut of, yeah? That's what you
he
meant.
will
I'm not
bestow upon.
Somebody-
Yizakenu is
Somebody
bestow
asked
upon.
ChatGPT whether to merit is an English verb. I don't think it is. But no, to merit means to merit somebody else.
Yizakeh is to bestow
How do you
upon.
make someone worthy?
Johnny.
How do you make somebody worthy?
Yeah.
By that's a good question. Let's just read it through and see if we can understand that question.
Yizakenu is to bestow upon. Johnny.
May he make us worthy, the art scroll says.
Yeah, that's a good translation. Who you say? It's from the root of
Lezakot.
lezakot. It's
Yeah.
the same root as zechut. A merit. Okay. May he make us have the zechut. In other words, may make us worthy. Okay. I'll answer your question in a minute, Paul. I think I've got a bit of an answer anyway. May he what are we asking for us to for him to make us merit? Limota Mashiach,
The days
the
of
days of Moshiach.
yeah.
Okay, we've spoken about this period of time where it will be all happy, no more peace, no more war, only peace. Right? In the Yeshayahu says the lamb will lie down with the lion and the wolf, whoever it is. They'll beat their plowshare, their swords into plowshares.
Plowshares, yeah.
Plowshare? That doesn't sound right.
Plowshares.
Plowshares, no?
Plowshares.
Plowshares. Anyway, plows, right?
These guys from Manchester, they don't know English. It's terrible.
And
from Coney Island.
He merits, you can say that?
Someone
Okay,
merits
fine.
it, how do you make someone meritable?
Okay, I'll tell you how you make somebody meritable. Okay, so we're asking to Kodesh Baruch Hu to help us be meritful. No, that's not a word. To merit, help us to be worthy of Limot HaMashiach, of the days of Mashiach, and the Chayei Olam Habah, and to live in the world to come. Right now, that
To help. You added the word help. Where did it say help?
to make us worthy. Okay, so a merciful one, make us worthy of. Make us worthy of. In other words,
You make yourself worthy. Nobody else makes you.
And he can give us the
The wherewithal.
opportunity.
Yeah,
to be worthy.
yeah, you can make us worthy. I added the word help in deliberately because that's what I think it means. I think it means help us to be worthy of it. In other words, give us the strength to do the things that we should do, which are right, like not talking during davening, for example, or whatever, right? The things that make us worthy, give us the strength, give us the help, give us the opportunity even, right? Let us have an opportunity to do.
That's not what it says.
What does it say?
It doesn't know. I'm saying it's not the Hebrew says. The Hebrew just says make us worthy.
But you asked me a question. How does that happen?
Right.
Well, you know, wave you a magic wand and make you worthy. No, you have to work for it, like you said. Right?
It gives us the basics, the mitzvahs and the.
Correct. Give us the tools and also give us the assistance to do it when we're struggling. No, I mean I don't see a difficulty. I don't particularly see a difficulty with that, Paul.
Okay.
But we're asking for to be worthy. We're asking to be worthy. Make us worthy.
But to deem us worthy, I can understand.
Somebody who merits, Johnny,
I don't
is
think that's what it means.
meritorious.
I don't think it means deem us
It
worthy.
gives us the ability to be worthy.
Do you think it means, what do we think around the table? Do you think it means deem us worthy?
No,
I think it means give us the opportunity to become worthy. Yeah.
Make us meritorious.
Happy and glorious.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but in what way? I mean, Paul's question remains. Would that satisfy you, Paul? Give us the opportunity to become worthy.
Paul isn't.
Yeah.
Paul isn't
That's
easily
what it's saying,
satisfied.
yeah.
Okay, well, that's what I think it means.
Right.
Now, then we come, and we'll just finish with this now. Migdol and Magdil. Oh, the old thorny problem of Migdol and Magdil. What is printer's error? What? Okay, so what's going on here? On a weekday, we say
Magdil, because it's an act. You don't do acts on Shabbat. You don't do.
You're jumping the gun. We have to explain what the two words mean first. We say on a weekday Magdil, and on a Shabbat or Yom Tov,
Migdol.
we say Migdol.
If they did this Migdol in one page, in a small bed, it's not Migdol. And then people thought when they put up study, it's a small bed, it's bed themselves.
Okay, on a weekday we say Magdil. Where's that from? Somewhere else. Okay, very good. Lionel says it's from somewhere else. Okay, would you like to try and narrow that down a little bit?
He hasn't got access to ChatGPT.
Okay. It's from Tehillim. It's from Tehillim. From Tehillim. I'm cheating because it says here in the Siddur that I've got, it's from Tehillim Yud Chet. Let's just get a Tehillim. Just happen to have a Tehillim here. Tehillim Yud Chet. Let's see what it says.
51. Yeah. Art scroll says, Johnny, 51.
51 what?
1851.
Oh, 51, right. Thank you.
51.
Thank you. 1851, right. That was very useful. So 51, which I'm very, very glad that Johnny just told me that it was verse 51, because it's
I
very.
didn't say it. Art scroll said it, not me.
And actually, it's the last pass up. So if I'd started at the beginning, it would have taken me a while to find it.
Art scroll said it, Johnny, not me.
Thank you for telling us what Art Scroll says. And about the verse says there in Tehillim, Magdil Yeshuot Malko. What does that mean? Magdil.
They should grow. They should increase.
Okay, let's translate it very
Magdil. It should increase.
accurately.
It should increase.
Magdil Yeshuot Malko. Yes, correct.
Great.
Correct. It's a causative form, right? It's a causative form. So Magdil, may he make grow.
Yeah.
May he make grow.
Yeah.
Yeshuot Malko.
The
salvation
of his reign.
kingdom.
Of his reign.
his
of the
kingdom.
Yeah.
Va'oseh chesed, and he should make kindness or do kindness limashicho.
To his own emissary, to the Moshiach,
Limashicho, to
his
to
Moshiach,
his anointed one. Who are we referring to here?
King David.
David.
Yeah.
Or David's descendants.
Yeah.
Right? How do we know? What's the next word?
No,
The David. The David.
Oh,
Or was
no,
that
I don't
to
know.
David and his descendant.
Progeniture.
Ad progenitors, yeah, yours.
Progeniture.
All that as well. Ad olam, forever. Now, how many times have we said Magdil Yeshua's Malko v'Yetzer Chesed David Desire Ad olam? Billions, right? We never stop to think what it means.
Well, you set the homework this week.
Ad olam, yes. Ad olam, okay. Ad olam, what does that mean? Oh, we'll have to wait and see.
Till the end of
You
time.
looked up and checked.
Okay.
Forever.
So Magdil Yeshuot Malka, this is a pasuk in Tehillim, which Lionel correctly says is a plea to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Magdil, may he increase the Yeshuot of his kingdom and do kindness to David Ulazaro ad olam. Where is Migdol from? Somewhere in Shmuel Bet, very good. Shmuel Bet, chapter 22. I don't happen to have a Shmuel handy. What's it here? I have it here.
This is
So that's a Chumash. We got a Shmuel bet. Anyone?
That's a Umish, that one.
It says Magdil, not Migdol. What does?
Small bit.
Shmuel bet.
The very last passage, it's the Haftarah from Hasid. It says Magdil short.
Where does it say that? Magdil here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to get Shmuel bet out. Hang on. Maybe a Krink Siv,
Which
Frank.
chapter?
22.
It's a coincidence, Johnny. It's verse 51 again.
Chapter verse 51 again.
22, verse 51, it says.
Ah,
Must be a coincidence. You don't believe in coincidences, but it is.
That's right.
Okay, hang on.
You don't believe in coincidences, but it must be.
Well,
With the cream stick.
bet chapter 22. It'll be a Krink Siv, I guess.
Verse 51.
Verse 51 again, which also happens to be the last pasuk in the chapter.
A coincidence.
No, probably not. It probably means that the psalmist, whoever wrote Tehillim,
Yeah.
Tehillim, whatever it was, 18, whoever wrote Tehillim 18,
Also wrote 22.
probably based it on Shmuel bet chapter 22. So it says in my one, Migdol. That's what it says here in my version of Shmuel bet chapter 22 verse 51 says Migdol Yeshuot Malko. It may well be it is a Krink Siv. It's spelt Mem Gimel Dalad Yud Lamed, which you would normally say is Magdil, but it's pronounced Migdol. That's a Krink Siv. It's written one way and read a different way. So Migdol, what does Migdol mean?
From the great. From the great.
It makes great.
What is a Migdol? A tower.
Migdal is
A tower. So Migdol Yeshuot Malko.
It's a tower of salvation.
A tower of salvation. What's the difference between Magdil and Migdol?
One's a verb and
One's a request and one's a statement, right? And so
one's a noun.
one's a request. Magdil is a request. May he make great. Migdol is a statement. He is a tower of salvation. Ay Hashem. What do we know about Shabbat? We don't make a request. So the Vilna Gaon doesn't have a problem with any of this because he doesn't say it on Shabbat at all. But if you're going to say it on Shabbat, it appears that Migdol is more appropriate. Now, why just that? Because if they're going to quote a pasuk, and there's an opportunity to quote a pasuk which is not a request, makes sense not to do that. And I think that's the reason why Migdol on Shabbat. Actually, it's not just on Shabbat. It's anytime there's Musaf, you say Migdol. So on Rosh Chodesh, on Chol HaMoed, and Magdil during the week. So Migdol seems to be a higher sort of idea because it's a statement of Kodesh Baruch Hu's praise, whereas Magdil is a request. So
it just says he gives great, not say request.
okay, and it can be said that it can be said for Magdil he makes great, but I think but it can also be translated as may he make great, let him make great, and that I think is the reason why we say that on Shabbat. And there it
Our
is.
friend on a lighter note, our friend Pinky Oliver Shalom used to say in Poland they had a maid that used to help them called Magdalena, but on Shabbat they call her Migdalena.
I love it.
They
Brilliant.
always used to say that when we were there for Shabbos.
If you're going to say the Harachamons,
Yeah.
then you're already doing it. So
Yeah.
why that
Be-
doesn't make sense? That's not logical. I'm sorry.
No, well, it's not logical at all. The whole thing's not logical because you wouldn't really. I mean, the Vilna Gaon's right, isn't he? We shouldn't be saying it. But given that there is an opportunity to say Migdol, and Migdol is a higher level of praise, apparently, that's why we say it on Shabbat. We will stop there, and we will continue next week. Bezrat Hashem with Ose Shalom B'Romav, which we must have said probably
10 billion times.
more times than we've said anything else in our lives. Let's try and get something new out of Ose Shalom, and then we'll go into Yiruet Hashem, and we'll end, hopefully get through the end of benching in another 6 weeks. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Very good, everyone.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Laila Tov.
Laila Tov, thanks, Yanni. Laila Tov.